It is day 38 of the BP oil spill. Oil is still gushing from the well, but as you know, the top kill operation is now underway. We're here in our BP Bloomberg war room, as we call it. Adam Johnson here, who has been here over the last several days reporting on this story, and also Jeffrey Miller, who is an environmental law expert, here with us to talk more about this. And Adam, I know you've got some more statistics about what is happening as we see top kill underway.
Yeah, Jeff, I want to jump right in because you made a great point about the fact we don't really know how much oil is coming out of this thing. If you take a look at the estimates, if it's 5,000 barrels a day, as BP has asserted, there's a $1,000 per barrel charge penalty, right? That would be $150 million a month. But now, actually, some people in the government, Democrat from Massachusetts, Representative Markey, saying 14,000 a day. That's $420 million per month.
And some of the scientists are saying that may be more like 25 million barrels a day.
In which case, think of that,
Wait, 25 million or 25,000
per day.
Barrels a day.
And there's a $1,000 per barrel fine, which means, in theory, in addition to the cost of the cleanup, they could be spending $600–700 million a month.
And the fine goes up to $3,000 a barrel if there's gross negligence. So that could be much more than that.
And what needs to happen in order for there to be proof of gross negligence? Is there a smoking gun?
No. Negligence is the failure to spend money on a safety device if the cost of that device is less than the probability of an accident times the damage that it could cause.
So it's highly technical.
And for instance, if it costs $1,000 for a safety device and the chance of an accident is 1 in 1,000, and the damage is likely to be in excess of $1 million, then it would be negligent not to use the safety device. You can change any one of those factors and you could have gross negligence. For instance, if it only cost $1 for the safety device, or if the chance of an accident was 1 in 10,
right,
or the magnitude of the damage is 100 million, then it would be foolish.
But Jeff, does that mean that that's a pretty low bar then to get to? That sounds pretty low, right?
Well, it's a lot lower than most people think.
Okay. Now let's take a look at some of the previous historic liability settlements, whether it's YS Fen-Phen, $14 billion, the Valdez, Halliburton, the asbestos, $4.2. In other words, the average settlement, and again, this is not the cost of cleanup, just settlement issues like what you're getting at, $5.3 billion. What does BP need to do to try to keep it from getting that, or maybe it's even higher?
Well, BP wants to cap that as soon as it can and stop the flow, because that's the only way it can minimize its liability.
So the onus is on BP to prove that it's innocent, especially in other words, in the court of public opinion, BP is clearly already guilty.
Well, it caused the problem, or its contractors did. Maybe it was Halliburton. Who knows?
But there was something, right, Adam, where BP was not allowing the government, right, to go in and assess the damage initially, right? So then there's all those questions about that, right?
What they didn't allow to happen was the scientists to go in to figure out exactly what the flow was.
Right.
And that's probably the reason why is that it magnifies the per barrel fine.
It didn't want people to know. It didn't want people to know.
Because if you can verify it's $30,000 a day, given that $1,000 per barrel penalty, they have to pay more money.
That's right.
Part of the issue. Let's talk about some of the defense steps that BP can take, and specifically, I want to get at these. Consolidate damages. They can find a friendly jurisdiction, et cetera.
Yeah. That's all under a statute from 1851 called the Limitation on Liability Act. And that came about in the days when sailing ships were small and wooden and cargoes weren't dangerous. Doesn't really fit today's world very much. And that might work for the rig itself, but it won't work for BP, because BP's liability is as a leaseholder, not as a ship.
Okay. Can you, in say 10 seconds, try to put a number or range on this thing and just say 10 seconds? We have 10 seconds. Can you give us a number?
10 to 20 billion at least.
10 to 20 billion, wow.
Okay, all right, well, certainly the biggest in history, we would say. Okay, all right, thanks so much, Jeff, and Adam as well. We're going to be back talking to Don Yackman about stocks. We'll be back.